Welcome everybody to Big Brother's Little Brother. It's day 21 and what a day, probably the most eventful day in the house so far. Yesterday the housemates successfully passed their memory task, giving them an extra 28 quid for food. Not a massive event. It was Brian's birthday, he was 23. Not a massive event. Big Brother gave him a teddy bear's picnic and a roast beef dinner in exchange for his two beloved cuddly toys. Once again, it shouldn't be a massive event. He, being the selfless man that I'm sure you'd agree he is, gave up his two cuddly toys, Mr. Bear and Mr. Cow, for a teddy bear's picnic party and a big roast beef dinner. Not a massive event. And then, however, at about 11:30, they decided to play some games, which turned into a massive event, with Brian flying by the seat of his pants. Take a look at this.
Look at that ass crack! Look at that! Come
Dean!
They're burning my pants!
And that's just the appetizers. Well, poor Rana had to go and get this from the bin. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not try this at... Oh! Hang on a sec, let me just put it back properly. It looks like a dead snake, doesn't it? Don't try this at home. Now, during the game, an emotional and tired Helen paid a visit to the diary room. Missing home, an emotional and tired Helen, a.k.a. drunk, then decided to share her feelings with the others. Take a look at this.
So close!
You okay? Do you want to go see outside?
You're right.
Big G missing home.
Yeah, because I'm out anyway.
No.
Toilet.
Come here.
Just to put that into context, the housemates in all had, I believe, 4 bottles of champagne, 6 bottles of wine, and Helen herself had half a sweet cider. Now, with Helen crying and no one, including her, knowing why, the boys escaped to the hot tub for a quick game of truth, where Brian made his feelings quite clear for Josh.
Find straight guys in the dress, not gay guys. And you walked in. You walked in after 2 minutes. Packed my bag. The first person in this house to move rooms was me. And when I moved, I was on my own because everyone was talking to you.
And it gets a lot better than that. OK, the girls then joined, as they always seem to do, and suddenly things got much, see the italics? Worse. Pay close attention to Amma and Stuart right now.
No, be quiet. No, be quiet. No, be quiet. This is not your time to speak. No, be quiet. It's not your time to speak.
Well, do you have a question for me? Do you have something you want to say? Well, then why am I listening? I'm sorry that you have a very shallow memory, but I think you're a smug, insecure person who feels the need to be better than everyone else around him just to make himself comfortable.
Stop shouting at me. You stop shouting at me. Betty needs to know this. It's first place. There's one down there, guys.
The problem is that someone can be as nasty to you as possible, but if they're wearing a shower cap, it just doesn't really make sense, does it? OK, that lasted for about half an hour, right? We had to condense that without all the swearing into about, like, that 30-second clip you saw there. Amma left and went to the bedroom, and she was actually obviously far more upset than she previously made out. Take a look at this.
I'm sick of him. As I said again, I'll repeat it, I don't mind. Leave! I wish he was gone! Friday, hurry up and come! Very now! He's a
Emma, don't waste any more energy. It's all your energy you waste.
Because I think you're smooth, smug, and I hate you!
Neither.
Stuart obviously reeling from those body blows of being called small. Drinking hot tubs, it doesn't mix people. OK, Dean then came to the rescue and took her to the hut to calm down. And Stuart then decided it's time to come in and make the peace.
Oh, Stuart, no! In the morning, you didn't hear me, did you? I don't want to... If I talk to you now, Stuart, the reason I told you to just shush is because if I talk to you now, I will shout at you and say things I don't mean. Okay. I don't want to argue with you, and I don't... If you feel that I've said things in front of other people that you don't agree with, fair enough.
The comments that I said, none of us have had.
You are talking about it now, Stu.
But all I'm saying is that...
Stu, you are, whether you know it or not, you are
background.
Talking about it now, mate, and she doesn't want to talk about it now.
Yeah, OK.
And that is just a taster of what you can see tonight at Channel 4. I have to say that because we've nicked all their stuff. OK, at 6 a.m. this morning, they finally called a date and peace accord and decided to sleep on it. We're delighted to be joined by a family friend, psychiatrist Sandra Scott. Thank you very much for joining us again, Sandra.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. What a night. I mean,
I know,
that totally took me... I came in here today and they just said, you would not believe what's gone on last night. I mean, why do you think everything came to a head?
Well, I think quite a few things contributed to it, actually. I think that from the moment Josh hit that house, it's really unsettled people and things become increasingly volatile. He's really affected a lot of the relationships in there. I think the relationship between Elizabeth and Stuart, Bubble and Stuart, you know, Narinda and Brian, all those old alliances have been shook up by Josh's arrival, as well as that, you know, the old rivalry between Helen and Narinda, that's come up again. And of course we have the situation between Brian and Josh, that's very difficult. But I think there's something else as well. I think nomination time is very difficult. But what's sort of worrying about this nomination is Stuart, the sort of previous de facto male leader, has been nominated. And I think that for them is actually making them realise that, you know what, anyone can go. We're all vulnerable.
Do you think that's why the whole situation is so tense and then suddenly even they know full well that all these cameras are on them and yet they can't help themselves? They just go for it. I mean, Stuart wasn't nominated once in the first week.
Well, I said, when you say they can't help themselves, I think that actually the two managed to hold on to things, but when you throw alcohol into the pot, that disinhibits them and then it all comes out, as we saw.
OK, now with Stuart and Emma, I thought they were they were kind of part of one pack, as it were, in the first couple of weeks, even though they both nominated each other in the last round of nominations. Should we have seen this coming?
I, of course, saw it coming. I mean, well, first of all, I think from Stuart's point of view, I think that from the moment he was nominated, he was really gunning for an argument. He took it pretty badly. He was shocked. I think he was really shocked. So, first of all, and he was angry about being nominated. And maybe he made that little comment in the dining room about saying that, hey, people forget I'm in business. I read body language. I know who nominated me. And I don't know if he knew about anybody else, but he certainly spotted Emma dead on. Now, from Emma's point of view, I think Emma's throughout has shown a certain sensitivity about being patronised. Her big thing about Penny was Penny looking down on her, and there's certain things there's certain types of people I think she assumes look down on her, and I think it used to be Penny, and now she sees those sort of things in Stuart. She talks about him being an intellectual and going into her background and feeling the need to feel better than people. I think what she's really saying is, you think you're better than me, and that's her really big weak spot.
Do you think Emma would have a problem with whoever was there and would find those characteristics in them? I mean, bearing in mind that now Penny's gone, it was Stuart, and who's up next to it? I think
there's certain types of characteristics. There's certain things she seems to be insecure about. I mean, certainly her intellect. I think that her profession has a big thing for her. I think she's trying very hard not to appear to be a stereotype stripper and all the things that sort of go along with that. And I think anyone she sort of perceives who would pigeonhole her for what she does will become a target. I think that once Stuart is gone, I don't really clearly see anybody else in the house. I would have perhaps said Elizabeth, but except she's formed such a strong alliance with her, I don't think that's the case.
If, of course, Stuart goes.
If, of course, you're quite right. Sorry.
That's all right. And what about Stuart himself? I mean, look, you said he was spoiling for a fight. Do you think he singled out Emma, or would it have been anyone?
I think he was really gunning for the people who nominated him. And so I think that Emma hadn't been identified in that way, and I think anybody else he felt who had, as I said, nominated. But I think the way he was going, when enough booze inside him, it really could have been anyone. OK, and just briefly, Brian, as we can see, has a problem with Josh. What's your opinion as to the real reason behind this? Well, I think that is an issue of sexuality. I think when Brian first came in the house, he was obviously very comfortable about being gay, brought it up many times. But I think what Josh brought to the pot is he brought sort of sexuality, and I certainly think there's a sexual tension between the arguments and the teasing between them, and I think the real clues to what's going on is from Brian himself. He's talked about being worried about what people think. When he was in the diary room, he said, I actually lied about what people know. I only told my parents 3 days before I came in here. I think he's worried about his parents seeing him as a sexual being.
Sure. And as a group, how do you think they're going to get through this?
Well, I think we should see a calm after the storm. I think they need to address these issues with Josh and the other things, but I suspect with more time in the house and more nominations, we're going to see more of this.
Oh, Sandra, you little devil. Hedging for a fight there. OK, it's the subject on everyone's lips. Between 11 and 5 a.m. this morning, you sent literally thousands of emails to us. It's your show. We want to hear from you about last night's war of words. So, with that in mind, our talking point today is fighting talk. Weapons, you're looking at them. See? OK, give us a call. Any opinions you have whatsoever about the whole fighting, or any questions you'd like to ask about the whole fights last night, give us a call. 0870 901 9070, littlebrother@e4.com. After the break, with the evictions looming, we'll be meeting Stuart and Paul's best friends. But first, a word from Stuart.
I've been nominated. This is my plea. I am a nice guy, so keep me in, because you'll like me eventually.
I know I've been nominated, but please, 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 please don't vote me out.
Well, OK, welcome back to Big Brother's Little Brother. It was Brian's birthday yesterday. It all kicked off. There was massive arguments. These are our news headlines, and then it all simpered down at about well, let's say 6 a.m. This morning. So with that in mind, we'd like to be joined by producer Sean Murphy. Thanks. Sean, mood of the house this morning?
Very subdued. A lot of people with very sore heads and bruised egos this morning. Most people went to bed between 6 and 7 o'clock and didn't sort of surface again for a good few hours, so very quiet.
What's happened that we haven't seen so far?
There was
any more arguments?
No more arguments, but around 1 o'clock, once everyone had got up again, there was a big meeting, big house meeting, to try and sort everything out. Stuart apologised to Amma.
Now, who called that meeting?
It was sort of thought through the night that this was going to have to be sorted out this morning, and it just sort of happened when everybody got up. You know, once the last person was out of bed, it was like, right, time for a meeting.
What time was about that?
It was 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Cool.
Stuart apologised to Amma and hugged her.
Now, was it an apology, as in a Penny and Stuart apology, a la last week, or was it that relaxed?
Not quite. Well, it wasn't quite like the Penny and Stuart apology because he didn't wink. We did have our eye on it, for his sort of backstabbing, but that didn't happen. So we think it was quite sincere. Brian.
How did Amma take that?
She accepted it. Cool. Yeah. Brian also apologised to Josh. So we think for the moment everything is okay, but you never know. You can never tell.
Now, will last night's events affect the next round of nominations in your eyes?
Possibly.
I know Brian.
They might do. Brian's very, very paranoid, actually. He keeps saying he's very sorry about what happened and it shouldn't have happened. He's very embarrassed. But he thinks that he's definitely going to be up for nomination next week.
Brilliant, Sean. Thank you very much. No, we've been talking about the arguments last night, but for those of you that missed them, or you'd just like to see them again, this is for you. Hope you enjoy.
It's not your turn to speak. Sorry, no, it's not your turn to speak.
You have a very shallow
Sorry,
memory.
No.
Toilet.
Come here.
Stuart, Amma's fine.
And I'm fed up with it.
I'm not blaming you.
Don't say me sorry, nothing.
Amma.
Why was I rude?
But all I'm saying is that...
You okay?
I hate you.
Oh, yes. Now, tomorrow, the second person will be evicted from the house. It will definitely be Stuart or Paul. That's a fact. So, we'd like to be joined by Stuart's best friends, Charles and Neil, Paul's sister, Nikki. Big or little sister?
Little sister, he's my big brother.
Oh, fantastic. And friend Dan. OK. Neil, how do you think the events of last night will have affected Stuart? I mean, he seems to be quite a sturdy, steady man, but at the same time, I actually think it's probably hurt him a little bit.
Well, I think he would have enjoyed having a bit of a drink inside him. Let's face it, that's what fuelled most of last night anyway.
He kind of enjoyed the whole scenario of someone actually sitting in a room next door actually shouting.
Well, did you see the look on his face when it was happening? I mean, he was sort of standing there with a grin. He was pretty cool about it, I think.
It was just a weird thing for me, though, is that those two seem to be friends very much in the first week and so forth. And why do you think it's just turned on him?
Too much beer.
Too much beer, OK. Now, the public are deciding who to evict. Do you think it will have damaged his chances in any way, shape or form?
I don't know. It's difficult to say, isn't it, really? I suppose the public can make their own minds up on this. I think that the press have actually, unfortunately, victimised him to a degree, which I think has probably been unjust. I think most people actually agree with that.
It's more the fact that Stuart is quite a dogmatic person, though, Charles, and therefore, so that, they need, in the same way they probably picked on Penny within the first week, they need to pick on someone that speaks more rather than, is quite reserved.
I think the public are going to want to see more of this, aren't they? I mean, Paul's a nice guy, but, he likes to sit in his deck chair. Stuart's getting in there and having some bit of action.
I had to bring Nikki in here with the whole deck chair action.
Who's got the best tan?
OK, now, Nikki, the group had a discussion this morning. Paul was one of the leaders, which, even though I know we've spoken earlier on before we went on there, and you said that's actually part of his character. We haven't really seen it so far. Do you think that's bringing out the best in him?
Paul is a natural-born leader anyway, and I think whatever situation he's in, he'll lead. I think he's finding it hard because there's so many natural-born leaders in there, and it is a competition, as you say, and there's a lot of people very up, well up for competing against each other. Bringing out the best in him, I think he's just trying to come to a truce with everybody and trying to be the mediator, which he does, and he's really being himself in there. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think, if anything, people can look up to him for trying to call peace in the house.
Are you surprised with how quiet you said his natural-born leader is quite dogmatic, he's quite gregarious? Are you naturally surprised by how quiet he's been? Because he has been, him alongside Elizabeth, say, have been really the quiet ones. What do you think, Dan?
It has actually surprised me a lot. I think he's taken a lot of time to get to know people and to try and judge everyone's characters, and as a result, he's maybe gone within himself a bit. I think real Paul is starting to come out a bit more, and the way he handled last night was brilliant. And
what do you define as the real Paul?
The Paul I know is
without using any swear words.
No swear words.
Or anything he can sue you on.
He's a very enthusiastic person. He's probably one of the most enthusiastic people I've ever met. He's game for a laugh. He's funny. He's a good guy. I mean, in the show they've been calling him boring, and to be honest, that's one of the last things I would ever describe Paul as.
Why do you think they have been calling him boring then?
I think he's just, I say, trying to assess everyone, gone within himself a bit, and he's just taken a step back sometimes because, as Nicky said, there are a lot of leaders in there taking charge, trying to make things happen. And as a result, there's a lot of friction, and I don't think he really wants to be part of the arguments.
Okay, guys, how do you think they're coping with the fact that your friends have been nominated?
I think they're just assessing the situation. I think from their point of view, it must be very difficult. But I don't think there isn't much they can do about it now.
Is Stuart someone that's scared of rejection? I mean, does he worry about things like that? I remember when he actually was, when he was told he was being evicted, he just kind of gave this knowing smile, looked around him to say, "I'm going to get you. I know you are." You know what I mean? But without any shred of malevolence whatsoever, he just kind of looked around and almost sized people up. I mean, like he said to the diary room, he's in business. He knows non-verbal communication.
Very much. I think from his point of view, he was probably surprised because he has been taking quite a back seat in terms of conversation with people. He's a very good listener, and I think from that point of view, what he's been doing is really assessing the situation. As Dan was saying, the same thing with what Paul's doing.
How do you think Paul's coping? I mean, do you think he's assessing the situation, or do you think he's quite hurt?
I think he's been all right. He said something about it was going to happen sooner or later. I think he's generally been really cool about it, and there's been no problems. One of the first things he said is, "I'm all right, no problem," and he was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he thinks everyone's going to be a winner whether they stay or go, however soon. I think they've all done very well, and I think he's got that attitude as well, that they've all done very, very well to get here. I mean, being his sister, we know how much he's gone through to get in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. Whoever leaves tomorrow, they'll both have made their mark on the Big Brother house. Let's take a look.
I jumped off the train and landed like that and went, whoa, you went completely flying like about 30 metres.
Did you say crab cats?
That's a bit mad, isn't it?
What is wrong with you?
Yeah, big old girl.
I know, I'm a big old girl.
We are talking jacuzzi-tastic here.
All right, can I have a foursome?
Hey, let's go. 1, 2.
I'm not going to ask you a horrible question, don't worry.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is a very sad day. It's my sad but esteemed duty to inform you. It's Penny's last day with us, everyone.
Oh. Bye-bye.
Penny, what do you think of last night? Did you watch it?
It's very sad. I watched it earlier.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm just really shocked, but I think it's good to be honest. It's good for people to let their
The
feelings
whole
out.
group imploded. I mean, it's good to be honest, but they all just went totally off on
Everyone's
one.
learning something about themselves, so it's good for them.
What did you take from last night? When you were watching it, was there one thing you saw and thought, I can't believe I'm seeing this?
Well, I think Emma really letting go. I didn't think she had it in her to let go to that extent.
Even when she was brushing her hair in the bedroom.
I felt very sad for her sitting in that room. Really, I mean, she was really sobbing really deeply, and that was pretty disturbing.
Quite heartfelt, wasn't it? I'll tell you what it was. It was fighting talk, and oddly enough, that's our talking point for today. You can give us a call right now, 07090199070, littlebrother@e4.com. I believe we've got Joanne from Plymouth on the line right now. Hello, Joanne.
Hi, Deborah.
How you doing?
Fine, thanks very much.
You sound like a woman that means business. Let's talk business, fighting talk, in fact. Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, I think Emma, as usual, caused conflict. The boys were doing fine before she butted in. She then launched an attack on Stuart, given a tirade of abuse. She started it, he finished it.
Right, OK. I mean, you don't think he was out of order at all? You think, she was there, shower cap in head, as it were, just giving it large, yeah?
Yeah, no, I think she deserved what she got.
Do you think she's been spoiling for a fight for a while?
Oh, yeah. The things she's been doing behind people's back is unbelievable. She pinched ham from the fridge during the night.
Oh, did you see that? What happened? Tell us, because that's one thing I didn't know. What happened?
Yeah, she pinched food out the fridge when everyone else had gone to bed.
Really?
She used to nick the eggs.
Did she used to nick your eggs,
Yes,
Pen?
she used to nick my eggs.
She used to nick Penny's eggs as well, by all accounts.
No, one night I can remember her distinctly eating the ham.
Oh dear, okay, well, if anyone has seen Amma do anything, maybe nicking chocolate or some pretzels of any sort, please do get in touch with us. Thank you very much, Joanne. What do you think of that? Not her nicking food per se, but, you know, what do you think of that opinion, that Amma's been spoiling for a fight?
Well, there's been a lot of tension in her, yes, very much so. So maybe it just had to come out. But I do think maybe they're as good as they're giving as good as they got. You know, it was quite a sort of solid fight at the start. So, you know, they have been friends for so long. They've got a lot in common.
Top stuff. OK, moving on to the whole Brian-Josh thing. What's the matter?
No, I'm just thinking what I'm talking
It's
about.
all right. Don't worry, don't think.
OK, all right.
Suzanne from Merseyside. Anti-Brian, pro-Josh, I believe, Suzanne.
Yes, I am.
This is very rare. Yeah, please, go ahead.
I used to like Brian until last evening. I found his antics appalling. His childish, irrational and jealous behaviour towards Josh, totally unwarranted.
But have you ever been drunk?
Yes, I have been drunk, but I've never actually annihilated someone in that fashion.
I just asked because he felt so bad about it when he did go into the diary room.
Well, saying sorry doesn't actually make up for the fact that his comments were extremely violent and extremely personal.
I say sorry all the time, and I always think it makes it better.
Well, I hope, yeah.
Sorry and a quick confession, and I'm laughing. OK, thank you very much, Suzanne.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye. OK, we should have Adam on the line there. Hello, Adam. Oh, Damon, I beg your pardon. Hello, Damon.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad, how are you?
Now, you're signing with Amma, aren't you?
Let me just say, congratulate you on a brilliant programme so far. It's honestly the best you've ever seen.
Oh, my, stop
but,
it.
Can I just say that Josh and Brian, that shouldn't have happened. They'll make it all up and they'll probably get it on in the Love Shack, I expect.
Who?
But
Who?
As far as Stuart and Amma, now these two are two different people. I think basically they're just as bad as each other. They both keep on about their how good and businesslike they are and how they can keep a controlled argument. Well, they slipped up 3 times by 1, raising their voice, 2, stooping down to each other's level and putting each other down, and also they kept losing eye contact and turning their back on each other. And if Stuart's such a businessman, I don't think he is really, and I think he should get out.
With the same vantage, do you think that Amma will have damaged her last night? Do you think she'll be nominated?
Do I think she'll be nominated?
Yeah, next week.
Yeah, but she was very clever in the way of getting everyone on side, I think, last night by bawling out crying, because that's what she sort of tended to do. I think that was her aim there, to get everyone in the bedroom on her side, and that sort of hit Stuart in the face a bit, and I think Stuart sort of now is like he was the one first to try and apologise, to try and get those people back on his side.
Damon, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Intelligent point, well put. We've been delighted to have her with us all week. Thank you very much. Yeah, please get up for Penny. Lovely. OK. Penny, thank you very much. You've been so nice. We've got some presents. We've got your little book there. You have to unwrap that. There's a little picture of me and you, which I'm sure you're not too enamoured about. And a wonderful Shakespeare's Globe. You got a little lovely tour there with some tickets. Thank you very much, Penny.
Wow.
Join us Sunday for the next Eviction interview. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
That's right. Little Brother back on Sunday at 7. Back to Tonight on E4 and Rob secretly a little bit pure in As If next.